Good morning, everybody. Curtis Wilkerson back with you again with Inside Arkansas and the Pot at the Palace to talk some Razorback hoops. We got a couple more days here until Arkansas gets back to the hardwood to try to erase some of that sour taste out of their mouth against Ole Miss. But before that, it's January. Conference play has started up. We've been waiting for this. So new year, about once a week, I think we're going to do just a little bracketology type of update, see exactly where Arkansas stands in the NCAA tournament picture. This feels like a good time to do that this week. Reason being is because since Saturday, I've had, a lot of comments, people asking, others suggesting. I've seen a lot out there on social media that Arkansas is on the bubble for whatever that's worth in January. And, I think anytime you get taken to the woodshed like Arkansas did in Knoxville, over the weekend, it just opens up your resume to a little extra scrutiny. Like people see that result and they go, oh, how good is this Arkansas team? Maybe we ought to go check out the resume and see what they got going on there. That's part of the deal. So let's look at it for a few minutes and see where they're actually at. Obviously understanding there's a long, long way to go. Believe it or not, Arkansas's metrics really didn't take that much of a hit after that loss at Tennessee. I think maybe the strength of schedule bump that Arkansas got from going on the road, playing the number one team in the country, it kind of negated a good amount of how lopsided that loss was. Arkansas only dropped a couple spots in the net rankings and a couple at KenPom. Looked at it earlier this morning and they're 40th still in the net. That's, you'd like to be higher than that, but that's pretty solid, not too far off from where you were. And they're 38th at KenPom. Obviously, you want to be higher than that, but it's not like they dropped 10 spots or something from this loss at Tennessee, which, again, everyone kind of expected to happen, just maybe not in the fashion that it did. What I will say, in fairness, today, which is, in a way, it's a little bit surprising because you're 11-3, and maybe semi-alarming to some, but then again, not really if you have the right context to it. The Razorbacks are a lot closer to the bubble than folks might realize. As you look at it today, does that mean that I'm worried that Arkansas won't make it to the big dance? No, not at all. In fact, I'd be really stunned if they don't. Also, Arkansas has been in the field in every reputable bracket projection and update I've seen since the weekend. And a lot of those update, later in the day Tuesday. So by the time some of you watch this, some of the new ones will be updated and everything like that. And that's okay. I'm just seeing them increasingly moving into that 10 to 11 seed range in some of these updates, or they're listed on Bubble Watch or somebody's last four in or whatever. I went and looked at the bracket matrix, which you'll hear me refer to a lot. If you've been listening to me dating back to the Hog Hoops live days, I reference that thing a lot. It's just every reputable bracketologist, and they just compile all of the projections and put it all in one place. And Arkansas was included in 47 of the 48 brackets that were out there on January 4th. So they're not in danger of missing the tournament or anything like that, but they're just getting closer to being in that bubble range, right? And here's the thing. That can be fair as of January 7th without being worrisome for the long term. I think there's reasons why that's the case, and also reasons why you shouldn't really be sweating it. This team right now, they've got a resume that falls in line with other bubble teams, or maybe just a cut above that, I think is where they're at right now. The only difference for Arkansas, comparatively speaking to others, they have opportunities to beef it up every single game the rest of the season, all of them. Sorry, I had to take a sip of coffee. Arkansas's remaining strength of schedule is 12th in the country. Welcome to the SEC, right? There are no more bad losses left to take. None. Zero. The worst game you have, from a resume standpoint, is going to be on the road at South Carolina. It's a quad 2 game. Actually, that might wind up being a quad 1 game. Once all said and done, they just got to be top 75. You're going to have some quad 2s maybe that pop in at home, teams that are outside of that top 30, but still really good. There's just not a bad game to be played. There are no bad losses. There are no Hofstras on the schedule. It's not like how losing to Vanderbilt could tank you in past years. Those opportunities aren't there. Arkansas is not going to have a quad 3 or quad 4 loss on their resume at the end of the season. That looms large. In past years, it was a situation where they would lose one of those stupid games to Hofstra or UNC Greensboro or whoever, and it would be a black eye for them. and it would pull them down. It would kind of impact their ceiling on how far they could climb in the net. It was just a mark against them. They're not going to have that here, right? And every win that you get the rest of the way is going to be a win of consequence. It really is. And I think that's a good thing there. They're all going to be at least quad 2. I think you've got minimum a dozen, and it fluctuates every day, quad 1 opportunities left. And those are high caliber games. They give you a boost to the resume. So every game that Arkansas has is going to benefit them or not hurt them. The only thing that could change that is if Arkansas just completely tanks, like you have to win games, or they take several of these Tennessee level beatings, right? You get 20 balled by a handful of teams there. That's a way to drag down your efficiency markers and hurt you in the metrics. My point is Arkansas should be just fine. Something that stands out right now is Arkansas only having a single quad 1 victory. And if folks are wondering what that is, it's just the net rankings. They separate the games on your schedule into 4 different quadrants, right? Based on where you play and where those opponents are ranked. So a quad 1 is going to be against a really good team. Quad 2, solid team. Quad 3, Quad 4 is playing the hot dogs out there, right? Arkansas is 1-3 in these quad 1 games. They got that win over Michigan. That's going to continue to age well. Shout out to them for beating Eric Musselman over the weekend. He was not happy about it. So to me, like, yes, that can matter. I get it. So when people look at Arkansas's resume right now and those that say, well, there's not really much here, man, they might be closer to the bubble. Well, it's because they've only got one of those games in their back pocket right now. I think you can acknowledge that is fair while also acknowledging, boy, the opportunities are plentiful there. That Arkansas is very much in control of their own destiny. And that's not just making the NCAA tournament, but getting a really good seed. And we've talked about how they got to figure some things out, right, as a basketball team here to do that. But the point is they're in a decent spot. The folks who do these brackets and these analytics and all that, you can really do it a couple different ways. One, you can look ahead and think about where you feel like a team is going to finish based on what they've got left on their schedule. But for the most part, when these bracketology updates come out, it's based on the resume that you have right now in the moment. So if you see Arkansas as a 10 seed and 1, an 11 seed and 1, no need to panic. Where I would say you could start sweating a little bit is, let's say that they go 0-2 this week, right? And then you're off to an 0-3 start in SEC play, and it's kind of piling up on you a little bit. Then, you might need to just bat down the forehead a little bit, get the beads of sweat off of it. But right now, nothing to worry about. For the longest, Arkansas didn't have a single quadrant 2 game on the resume. But as it turns out, our friends at Lipscomb from the opener, they qualify now. They're up to 70th in the net rankings. So playing those guys at home early in the season, that winds up being a quad 2 game for them. And it's good. Now they're ahead of a bunch of power conference schools. We'll see if that holds up, but that's okay. Again, Arkansas 40th in the net. That's just above that cut line of where the bubble usually is. The good thing is I think that they've actually passed a handful of SEC teams now. That matters because the SEC is pretty firmly projected as a lock to get at least a dozen teams into the field. Right now, Arkansas is ahead of Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma, LSU, and South Carolina, and they're right on the heels there of Georgia. So you just want to continue to climb up that SEC pecking order there. Ole Miss, who comes in here on Wednesday, they're sitting right at number 30 in the net rankings, which is exactly the cut line to be a quad 1 game at home. As long as they're inside the top 30, that remains a Q1. If they drop outside of that, it's a Q2. Either way, it's a good game for them. And then you look at the next 4 games. If that's the case right now with Ole Miss holding up where they're at, you got Ole Miss, Florida at home. You got at LSU and at Missouri. All of those are quad 1 opportunities. Then Georgia and Oklahoma right now are quad 2 games. They could move up. But again, that's 6 really good resume building opportunities. Arkansas goes 4-2 in those games. They're set. They're all set. They go 3-3. You're just fine. KenPom right now is projecting Arkansas to go 3-3 over that stretch. But that also includes losing to Florida at home, which, hey, we'll talk about it after we get through Ole Miss here. Florida's good. But that also includes a road loss at LSU. That's a place where Vanderbilt just went and won comfortably. A road loss at Missouri, which, they did beat Kansas at home earlier in the year, but that's a very winnable type of road game for Arkansas. So we'll see how they come out of this. They definitely got to lick their wounds and bounce back from what happened over the weekend. I'll tell you what would really help in the immediate here is for Razorback fans to turn Bud Walton Arena into a buzzsaw again, right? I mean, we haven't seen it since what? The Duke game last year. I mean, there was a huge crowd for that Auburn game and they got blown out. I'm not blaming the fans here. I'm just saying like the team tanked. And they weren't very good. And so that atmosphere wasn't what it has been in years past or what it's capable of being. And they just haven't had a super exciting opponent in there just yet. I get it. When Bud Walton Arena is at its best, you better be 10 points better than the Razorbacks on a given night if you're going to walk out of Fayetteville with a win. I think that's the type of home court advantage that this team needs right now, especially while they need to be able to lean on it. I think that home court advantage while they find their identity and hit their stride, right? Because they're not quite there yet. We know how talented this group is, but you saw the difference with Arkansas and Tennessee, and we can talk about physicality and rebounding and all that. But the thing that stood out to me most is Tennessee is just further along right now in terms of being connected as a team. Right, you're only as good as the sum of your parts. As your weakest link, whatever cliche you want to throw out there. Arkansas is still in the process of figuring that out, and it's been some unfortunate stuff that's happened with injuries and sickness. We found out Boogie Flan had the flu for that Tennessee game. I mean, my goodness, is it running its course through the team yet? Get your flu shots. Go to Walgreens, get these dudes some emergency or something. I mean, what is going on? It's been everybody. Thero, Billy Richmond, Big Z was sick. Jonas Adu was sick. Boogie's sick. I mean, my goodness, it's been like 3 weeks now. These guys have been under the weather. So hopefully it makes its way through and knock on wood, this group can just finally get healthy and start clicking the way they need to. But I do think in the meantime, the crowd, listen, Bud Walton Arena is a building that can win you a game on a night where you might not even have your best. So I think that would really help them this week. It starts with Ole Miss on Wednesday, which that should be an awesome crowd, with Chris Beard coming to town. We know people thought he was going to be Arkansas's coach and not John Calipari. We know how all that went down. It's a 6 p.m. game on Wednesday, so it'd be one of those late arriving crowds. I get it with people trying to get out of work and everything, but I bet that place is going to be pretty charged up. I hope it is. It'll be cool. And then Saturday, home game on Saturday, a stripe out. You got a top 10 Florida team coming to town. Just a massive, massive opportunity here for Arkansas to make a statement. And I think they need to make a statement, right? Silence some doubters a little bit, quiet the haters, let the fan base exhale a little bit. Okay. Everything's going to be fine. Turns out Tennessee was just really, really good, and Arkansas wasn't ready for that on that particular day. We'll see if they get to play them again in the SEC tournament. So there you have it. Looking over at the TourneyCast on barttorvik.com. Torvik, which is it's an analytic on the team sheet now, so it's part of the NCAA selection committee's the things that they evaluate for putting teams in the tournament. It has Arkansas with a 59.2% chance to reach the tournament as of today. Again, that's just kind of where they're at right now. And they still have them pretty solidly in with in the 9 seed range. I think their average seed was about an 8.9. So a cut above the bubble, according to that metric. There are things to like there. We talk about that team sheet and just the different, they evaluate things in a million different ways. The net rankings, like we talked about, it's heavily scrutinized. It's a sorting tool. It just kind of helps them get a little bit more organized, assigning those quadrants to the schedule. But they look at a lot of things, eye test matters, results matters, where you play, who you play, when you play. All those things are factored in. And then, people go look at the numbers and the analytics and what the math tells you. There's some things to like out there in the metrics with Arkansas. For example, their strength of record right now. So their strength of that 11-3 record, that's 27th in the country without them even getting to the meat of it just yet. We talked about them having the 12th toughest strength of schedule left. So that tells you that that's pretty good. That's about where you want to be. That's encouraging. That wins above bubble that we talked about just kind of, it just gives you a relation or a comparison to how you're performing against your schedule compared to what the average bubble team would be expected to do against it. That's been on the rise for Arkansas. It's up to 33rd. So some good metrics there, but at the end of the day, just win, baby. That's all you got to do. Just win, right? And I think it will go a long way for Arkansas to have a good week here. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it. I like it as we get a little bit deeper into January and definitely once the calendar flips over to February, you get more regular updates on the bracketology. The metrics and the numbers, the analytics out there become a little bit more clear. and the separation starts to happen. Like the cream is going to rise to the top in the SEC right now. I think there's a pretty clear tier 1 in the SEC of Tennessee and Auburn and Alabama. Arkansas is just not there, right now. And I don't know if they're going to be, and that's okay because all 3 of those teams could be 1 seeds when it's all said and done. I think Arkansas right now is probably, if there are 4 tiers in the SEC, Arkansas is probably in the 3rd right now. And I think they got a chance to fight their way into a 2nd tier. That includes teams like Kentucky, Mississippi State, which has been red hot, Florida, who is really good, Texas A&M, who's playing really well. I think that's the crew that Arkansas is really going to be competing with. And if you get into that 2nd tier, you're all set. You're in a good spot. You're going to wind up getting a really good seed come tournament time. If you're hovering around that tier 3, which is still really good teams, but I think Ole Miss is in there. Oklahoma, Georgia, some of these teams that you're going to be playing here coming up soon. Texas, I think, is a team in that mix. All those teams who are going to have a really good case come March, but some of them are going to be on that cut line. Like we said, the SEC is looking at 12, 13 teams getting in this thing. So we'll continue to talk about it. We'll keep an eye on it, but I heard enough people saying, what's up with Arkansas, man? They better get some wins here. Looking like they're on the bubble. It's bubble-licious in Fayetteville. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're quite there yet, but like I said, after a loss like you had on Saturday, eyes are going to be opened a little bit. People are going to be picking through that resume with a fine-tooth comb to see anything that they can find. The answer, the solution to any concern out there, just win a couple games. All right, we're out of here. We're going to preview Ole Miss tomorrow in the morning. Really, really excited for that game. John Calipari's first SEC game in Fayetteville. And, a really good opportunity to get a win over a quality team. So it's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas on the Pod Palace. Hope everybody has a good day. Appreciate you, as always, for tapping in and rocking with us. We'll see you again in the morning. Y'all have a good one.